hot in here. God, I hate these. I'm so loud. I probably don't even need this, but whatever. Hold on. My name is Gail, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Gail.
God damn, I'm nervous. Okay, what it was like, what happened, what it's like now, happy, joyous, and free, tie it all together in a neat package, and entertain everyone. No pressure. Boom, boom, boom. I grew up in a home that I don't know if my mother was an alcoholic, but she drank very enthusiastically. And my parents got married very late in life in those days, in like the 50s. Like my dad was like 27 and my mom was like 26. So I have a feeling that they had all these friends, and one day they looked across the room and they were the only ones who weren't married to each other, and they went, "What do you think? Should we, Because they have nothing in common. My dad's family, like alcoholism goes back to like, the 1500s, in my dad's family from Ireland. And my mom's family all died in a fire when she was like a little kid. So she had like she had a horrible childhood, probably was worse than mine, but mine was bad. So anyway, my mother was a very angry woman. And I had two sisters at the time, later to have a third one, but that was like way later. And my two sisters were very quiet and did everything that they were told all the time, and then there was me. And I meant to be good. It just didn't work out. I think I was like 3 years old, and my parents took me to the doctor because I was always running full tilt into like walls and furniture. So they thought, there might be a problem here. So they took me to the doctor, and they said, does she have like some disability, And the doctor said to my parents, "No, this poor child is incredibly nearsighted." But I mean, already, I couldn't see where I was going, but it didn't stop me. Didn't even slow me down. So from very early age, I had glasses. I had thick glasses, and I know I'm a very judgmental person, enough said. But sometimes when I'm in the supermarket and you see a woman and she's got this little kid in the grocery carriage and the kid has those boogly eye glasses already, you just know, like, oh, kid, Oh, you're doomed, Buy him a computer now. So anyway, that was me. And consequently, my mother being not the most patient, tolerant woman in the world with a fondness for large quantities of beer, basically I got my ass kicked 8 ways from Sundays, a couple days a week, to the point where I think just my presence would anger my mother. Like broken bones and stuff. So anyway, I was a very angry child and very nervous. So what I did with that was I shoved it down really far, and I was pleasant and charming, and made everybody laugh. And when you weren't looking, I'd steal your wallet. We didn't have any money when I was little. I didn't think we were poor. I mean, we weren't poor, like we had a place to live, and and my dad had a car, of course. We used to call it the Flintstone car because the back seat didn't have much of a floor in it. And we were little kids, and I mean, we used to sleep laying on the back of the back seat. You know what I mean? There was no seat belts in those days. If they caught my parents doing today what they did then, they'd like put them in prison. But we used to always laugh, Daddy, if the brakes don't work, we can drag our feet like in the Flintstones. So anyway, we didn't have a lot of things, and I was always, from a very, very, very early age, I was restless, irritable, and discontent. And to me, that is the absolute opposite of happy, joyous, and free. Plus, I was a resentment machine. I hated everybody. I hated everybody's guts. I hated you. I hated your kids. I hated your dog. And if you weren't looking, I'd key your car just for laughs. And I was like 7. Do you know what I mean? But then you'd go, what happened to my car? And I'd go, that is so terrible. People are so mean. So, evil incarnate, that was me. Went to Catholic school, and nobody that I lived near on my block went to Catholic school, so, again, I'm a freak. Glasses, buck teeth like this. So, like, braces with the headgear. Oh, my God. I had a very glancing. I was not the hygiene queen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to play with the boys and play in the dirt, and my mother and father basically would take 2 of them to grab me by my armpits and get me in the bathtub like once a week. Seriously, I was gross. And so there's this one email I got a long time ago, and there's like kids' rules, and one of the rules was, don't let your mother brush your hair when she's mad. And my mother was always mad. So I never let my mother brush my hair. So consequently, I had like combed hair on top and like a big, like massive, I don't know what was in there anymore. I just would kind of screech over it. And as a very young child, I started, I like to say I'm a garden variety alcoholic, but I have so much other stuff wrong with me. I used to cut myself when I was a kid. I sometimes still do when I get under a lot of stress. I pull my hair out. I mean, I'm like a freak show. So anyway, I don't really give a flying rat's ass about it now. I try not to do it, and life goes on, and if how you like me now, you don't buy, So anyway, but I was so embarrassed by that stuff too. Like, I didn't have enough to feel bad about being, like tall and weighing like 4 pounds and having braces and glasses and the frizzy hair and always being dirty. Not the most popular kid in school. So anyway, and I would lie. I would always lie because I wanted people to like me, even though I hated you. I hated you. So I would make up these exciting stories because I would read. I read even before I started kindergarten. I guess it was just my way of escaping. We didn't have like video games and stuff. And I would read and I would watch movies on TV. And I'd just do anything I can to get out of myself, to just be somewhere else, to do something. I had an incredible imagination. It helps me in my business now. I design things, but I just wanted to be anywhere but who I was and where I was, and having my family and having my life, and so I'd make up stories. Now I have a sister who's like 16 months older than me, and she goes to the same school I go to. She takes the same bus I go to. And I'm lying my head off about all these exciting adventures I have, and people would just like lean over and go, did that really happen? And my sister would go, no. It's like everyone knew I was lying, but it didn't even stop me. So now I'm skinny, I have yucky hair, I have braces, I have glasses, I'm dirty, and I'm a big fat liar head. So I hated everybody. Oh, I was so unhappy. So I found a channel for my energy was sports. Plus, if you do sports, then you don't have to go home after school. Because going to my house was like the last resort. So I ran track, and I played baseball with the neighborhood kids until they, I'm 46, so they all started playing Little League, and I wasn't allowed. So that really pissed me off because I was better than most of them. And I found, too, I was a good bully whacker. They used to call me the bully whacker, which is I used to say, I'm small, but I'm wiry. These couple of bigger kids who lived up the street from us, and they would come and basically, if we were playing catch, they'd steal the baseball. You want it back? You want it back there? Or they'd start pounding on one of my little friends who were all boys. And I don't know why. I wasn't afraid of them. I mean, they weren't nearly as scary as my mom. And I would just lose it. I would just, I remember it happened a couple of times, and then the boys asked me to stop because I was embarrassing them because I was a girl and I was always saving their asses. But I had a very good arm. So anyway, this kid is pounding on my friend, and I just started whipping rocks at his head, Whack! And he's like, what the? And I'm like, leave him alone. And he's like, I'm going to get whack! Oh, cut it out, And then one of my other little friends is like, you better go away. She's a really good thrower. Or one other time, a kid was jumping on my friend trying to steal, I don't know, baseball cards. I don't even remember it, but I just, I don't even remember it. But I went after the kid with a bat, and, they had to pull me off him, and he was, 4 years older than us. But I just, you know what? I took enough shit in my house. I'm not taking any shit from you assholes. That was the way I looked at it. So, I know of a lot of women that grew up in abusive homes and that, stayed in abusive relationships because they were just, but for me, my mother was the end of the line. Nobody else was ever going to kick my ass. You know what I mean? Until later when I was drunk, and then everybody did. But, that was different. So anyway, moving right along, got out of Catholic school because, I did very well in school, but I hated school. I always hated school. They put me on Ritalin in 3rd grade because I couldn't stay in a chair, And in those days, though, they didn't send you to the counselor. The nuns just beat the crap out of you, Sit down, whack! Oh, So no one. I have the lumpiest head. So anyway, I got a scholarship to go to some Catholic girls' high school. Oh my God, So I was and my older sister, of course, didn't get a scholarship because she didn't do well on the test, even though she got, it took me a while to figure out, don't do good on that test. Because my sister was a straight A student and worked really hard and was always perfect. And then there was me. And so anyway, I did good on the test, and so my father was like, oh, we're going to send you to this, Catholic girls' high school. And I just went, Patty doesn't have to go to Catholic high school. He's like, oh, but you got a scholarship. And I said, so you're going to punish me for doing good, And I could talk to my dad, actually. And I just looked at him and I said, Daddy, if you make me go to Catholic high school, I'm going to be so bad that they're going to throw me out. So please, can I go to public school with all my friends? And he said, okay. He didn't, know whether they should have wanted his watch, so he just said, okay. But then they turned into, well, you're right, we didn't make your sister go to Catholic high school, so you don't have to go. I don't know, I guess it was a big honor or something, but I thought it was 4 more years of hell, Which was what high school was anyway. I got into 9th grade in Catholic school, and basically everybody had friends they've had since kindergarten, and they weren't really looking for any new ones. They especially, I didn't have to wear uniforms anymore, and I was never afraid to take that fashion risk, I would wear, it was just, this is how old I am, it was just, girls were just being allowed to wear pants to school, but you couldn't wear blue jeans. So I would wear these like plaid pants with like a striped polo shirt with like a hole in the armpit. I mean, oh my God, I was just with the frizzy hair, tied back because I couldn't be bothered to brush it, and the braces and the glasses, and oh, please be my friend. So anyway, I got very good at sitting by myself in the lunchroom and reading and making believe. It didn't bother me one bit. I'm so cool. You guys are idiots. It was killing me. It was just killing me all the time on the school bus. And I started to figure out that if somebody made fun of you, I was very quick-witted and I had a very sharp tongue. And I started to use that instead of just beating the crap out of people. If you're a girl, it was more socially acceptable to just, beat somebody to death with your words rather than, get them in the back of the bus and be hitting them on the head with a history book till they started crying. And so I did that. But then, okay, this is what saved my life, even though I hated high school like a disease until the day I left. What saved my life in public school was when I realized that they weren't allowed to hit you. I was like, oh my God, they're not allowed to hit us. And the teacher said something one day, and I made some smart-ass remark, and he said, Miss Morrissey, I don't appreciate being spoken to in that manner, or, something like that, I don't know. And I was like, what are you going to do? Give me a detention? And I just started laughing, like this maniacal laugh. And he gave me detention, but so what? It's more time away from my mother, So I was just sitting there laughing at the guy, and everybody was like, oh, she's cool, And the next day, people were like, oh, come sit with us at lunch, You should have heard she gave Mr. Jazz like such shit, And I was just, suddenly I was popular. Same clothes, same face, same everything, but, now basically I'm an asshole to grown-ups, so now I'm popular. Hey, I'll take what I can get, though, you know what I'm saying? So basically I made my name for myself by being very fresh, and if you get like D's and F's and you're wise ass like that, they throw you out on your ass, or they send you to learn how to work on car engines, But if you get straight A's and you're a jerk, they send you to the guidance counselor. I spent a lot of time in the guidance counselor, in the school counselor's office, And I would just I didn't even have to tell them. I would never tell anybody about what my real life was like because I don't know why. I should have just said, my mother beats me until I'm unconscious. Can you guys do something about that? But instead I would just make stuff up. And they would be like, oh. You need some more free, unstructured time. Yeah, that's what I need, So just me being alone with my own brain. A mind is a terrible thing. So anyway, I knew that drinking was a really bad idea because I had seen it in action in my home. And I knew that even people that had the propensity to be a little bit nice sometimes when they drank turned into, just complete scary monsters. So I wasn't interested in drinking. I was very interested in working on cars. I got my first mini bike when I was 11, and it was in a bucket, and I put it together. And I always liked, mechanical stuff and things like that. I'm an experiential learner. I can sit and listen to somebody jaw away about a theory of something. And, it's all I can do, not to poke myself with a fork to stay awake. But if I watch somebody for 5 minutes do the same thing, I know how to do it. Or if you give it to me, I always say, I work with computers. I know, I'm the geek. So anyway, they go okay, and then you do this, and I'm like, just let me drive. And I get in the seat, and I got the mouse, and I'm like, okay, and I screw up now. Okay, go back. Okay, okay, I can do this. You know what I mean? And that's how I learn. I don't learn by watching a video. So anyway, I really, and plus the boys liked it too. which was an added plus, because at that point in my life, at 14 and 15 years old, if I really liked you and you were a boy, I would punch you in the arm, because I was socially retarded. I really was. And I looked like the boys anyway. I didn't get my period till I was 17, because I never ate food or stopped running, So so I was just like Gail. There were the girls, and then there was the boys, and then there's Gail. And that's kind of what it was like. I'd run on the track team with the boys, and I had all these friends that none of them knew anything about me, but I hung around with 17 different groups of kids when I was in high school. I hung around with the motorheads because I liked that, but most of them were going straight to prison. So then I was in the smart kid classes because I was terrified of my parents' wrath. So I did well in school even though it almost killed me. And then so I hung around with the smart geeky kids that were going straight to college or already, And then I hung around with the jocks because I ran on the track team, and blah 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 and that stuff. And but I didn't I never had a best friend. There was never one person that knew anything about me. Everybody knew a little surface stuff, and that was just fine. I was okay with that. When people started to get to know me a little bit too bad, I usually bailed anyway. So, a recurring theme in my life. So anyway, cars, motorcycles, blah, 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 Motorhead, liking it. But it's not college, and my dad, people that are going to college don't work on cars. I don't know, Dad. I think people that are going to college that don't want to get ripped off at the garage do work on cars. But, that's my dad. So anyway, I was in 10th grade, and my sister, who was popular and attractive and, everything that I was not, I used to guilt her into taking me with her to friends. She was easy. Because she, actually had friends at a social life and stuff, and she'd, be going somewhere, and I'd be like, where are you going? She would be like, we're going to all go and hang out at Vinny's house, and the guys are going to work on cars. I'd be like, oh, that sounds like fun. And she was like, okay, you want to come? Yes, So, so anyway, we're all, someone had said to me a couple weeks earlier, do you know how to rebuild a carburetor? And I said, of course I do, which I didn't, but that's how I used to do things. So I spent the next week, I got the rebuild kit. It's really not hard. It's not hard. It's very easy. In the old days. Now, forget it. Now they have they look like alien life support systems. I would know how to rebuild a carburetor if my life depended on it. But in those days, it was it was real easy to rebuild the carburetor. But I'd never done it before, so I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. So I rebuilt this carburetor. So for 2 weeks, I'm like a nervous wreck. Oh my God, did I do this right? So we're going to go hang, and they're going to put the carburetor in this car, which was I know, I don't care, I'm 46. It was a Dodge Super Bee. It was a very good car. So anyway, it could pass anything on the road except the gas station. And so I used to race cars too. I like drag racing and stuff because I wasn't getting high yet. I needed something, So anyway, put the carburetor in the car, and I'm like, I'm acting like this, and inside I'm like, oh my God, please let it work. Oh my God, please let it work. Oh my God, please let it work. I'm a complete mental wreck. I'm having a 15-year-old's version of a nervous breakdown. And so they put gas in and prime the carburetor, and blah, the car starts, boom, 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 and they're like, all right. And I'm like, oh my God, I can finally take a deep breath, And so then they all open beers. Now, this is in Long Island. I grew up on Long Island, in a town called Port Jefferson, which is a very well-to-do town, except for where my parents live. And there are quite a few rich people that live there, but we were not them. And so this was in Sound Beach, which is this little dinky little place, and it was in a carport that had one of those corrugated tin roofs. So now the car's bump, 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 and the guys are all over by the cars, and we're all and I'm sitting on the engine block, and I'm all filthy and skeevy, and all the girls are standing over there, talking about whatever it is that high school girls talk about. I didn't know then, I don't know now, and so somebody says, hey, good job with the carburetor, you want a beer? no, 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 I'm trying to cut down, whatever. I just, I didn't want a beer. I knew what beer did. Now, with all my years of experience of that alcohol being very, very bad, you'd think I would learn something. But this is how much peer pressure it took. One of the guys said, "Don't you want to be one of the guys?" Yes. Oh, God, yes. I so want to be one of the guys. I almost broke his neck getting the beer away from him, And it was a 16-ounce Schmitz. And I'd seen it in a movie or something, you crack the beer. So I chugged this beer because I'm going to impress everybody with my coolness. So, it went down, and immediately there was so much foam because it wasn't real cold. I mean, we're hanging out in a garage, and I burped for like a half an hour, and beer came out my nose. I think the inside of my ears were wet, and I'm pretty sure something was coming out my tear ducts. And I was almost crying because it hurt so bad. Because, when a burp comes out your nose, oh, Jesus, So I'm like, and this is my first attempt at being cool with alcohol. Sweet. So anyway, the burp is resounding, and it's like the corrugated tin roof, and all the guys go, all right, And my sister and her friends are like, ew. Right. And so anyway, I was so embarrassed, and my nose is running, and I'm crying because it burned, and I'm feeling, I just wanted to get out of there, and I wanted to run into the woods and hang for a half an hour because I was so mortified. And then suddenly a transformation occurred. I was no longer as tall as I am now, weighing about 92 pounds in a plaid ripped polo shirt and baggy ass plaid shorts, I was statuesque. I was attractive. I liked people, and damn it, they liked me. I went from being outwardly charming, but inside a ball of fear and anxiety to an ugly and skinny and gross, and I felt like Julie Newmar in Batman TV show, with the Catwoman. I had arrived, and I was like, can I have another one of those, and that was it, I didn't get drunk from that day. I didn't get drunk every day from that day until I got sober 15 years later. But I did whenever I could. And also, it was in the late 60s, it was in the early 70s, and so what had started to happen with me is by the time I got out of high school, I had an ulcer. Because most of my friends did drugs because your parents drank. And it wasn't cool to drink. It was cool to do drugs. But I liked drinking and doing drugs. So as Catherine said last night, the drowsiness thing, anything that said, do not operate heavy machinery, that was my... So, and then you drink too. Woohoo! So anyway, and speed, or, what was that on the rug? I don't know, I'll take it. Swear to God, I have taken prescription medicine I found on the side of the highway. You never know. Or things like may cause blindness. They don't say when. So anyway, I was hiding my drinking from my drug using friends. Well, basically I'm hiding my drinking from my parents and all the grown-ups in school and my drug using friends, and then I'm hiding my drug use from all the grown-ups and people that can arrest me and things. And I mean, by the time I was a senior in high school, it was like a wreck, you know what I mean? I was always trying to get high every minute of the day and not get caught by anybody, and and you know what? I was never a good sharer. I was always, no, that's mine. If you want some, give me some money, I'll get you some. And then I'd get 5 with your money and give you 3. Yeah, that's how much they are now. So, but I was always a drunk. I was always a drunk, and I always had a plan. And, I learned early on in the house I grew up in that I had to trust and rely on Gail. I had to trust and rely on myself, because if I trusted and relied on anyone else, not only was I always very disappointed, but I often got my ass severely kicked. So I had to trust and rely on myself. I had to trust and rely on myself. I had to trust. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 16, because what do they know? They just fed and clothed my sisters and sent them all to college. But I got to work full time, had my own apartment to finish high school. I'm an idiot. When I was 14 years old, my mother came into my room to hit me. I punched her in the face. I broke her nose. She hit the floor. I said, if you ever touch me again, I'll kill you. She hadn't touched me again. Do you know what I mean? But I just didn't want to hear it. Nothing they had to say, none of their life experiences, it didn't relate to me. Didn't relate to me. They were stupid, old people. So anyway, I had a lot of adventures in my drinking. I was able to get into the printing union through no fault of my own. I used to hang around with we used to have this thing called Midnight Auto Parts, me and some friends of mine, and what we would do is we would go out at night and steal things from people's cars. And sometimes we'd sell them back to you, sometimes we'd sell them to someone else. Anyway, we were just punks and felons. We were just punks, just trying to get high and and trying to hang around gearheads and stuff and hang out at the racetrack. And my life was going nowhere fast. And a lot of my friends were already dead from drunken car accidents. The year I graduated high school, I went to 4 funerals, all because racing on a back road with the headlights off, with a couple of beers in the front and in the back and under the seat rolling around, and never ever said it's because they were drinking. It's bad luck. How'd that tree get there? Stuff like that. Like, man, it's so unfair. And so anyway, a guy that used to hang around with us when we were all punks and felons, who got a clue and went off somewhere, and we hadn't seen him for a while. He showed up one day, and I've been very lucky. My higher power has been working in my life even when I thought he was a complete dick. Okay? He brought this guy into my life who said to me, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You're a smart kid. What are you doing?" And I was like, "What? I'm having fun." And he said, "Look at you. It's 2 PM. You just woke up. You're hungover. What are you going to? You going to go out and steal car parts tonight?" I'm like, "Maybe." So he was like, "Look, we got an opening in the shop I work at. Why don't you come?" Because people always tried to help me. I don't know. They saw something I never saw. So anyway, I started working in the printing union, and I had a ravenous appetite to learn and the desire to work 80 hours a week, which they were fond of. And I was really into it, and my drinking practically stopped because I was totally focused on something else. And I did really well, and blah, 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 and life was good. And I, stopped hanging out with the punks, and, I got a nice Harley, and, that I built, and I did all this stuff. And I'm not one of those people, I know these women that are like, I really like to ride Harleys, so I need to find a boyfriend with a Harley. But then you have to go where he wants to go. You should get your own. It's more fun. It's more fun on the front. That's just me. But not a lot of women were riding motorcycles then. You know, this is like in the early 70s, and so blah blah blah. And I liked that too. There was no other women in the printing union, and there was me. I like that. You know, I like being around a lot of men and being the only chick. I always like that. That's my favorite thing. So that's why I'm not too uncomfortable in this room. And I've only had a couple months to think about it, and then all weekend. So it's been really swell. So anyway, I gotta move it along. I'm like, I'm only 20. So anyway, did really well. Met a guy. I had boyfriends before. They never lasted more than a couple weeks. I used to terrify people. If you really liked me, you made me too nervous. I thought that was creepy. If you didn't like me and you were kind of scary, ooh, ooh, I bet he carries weapons and has some prison time. But then, I'd meet a guy in a bar, and, we'd be having sex for a while, so now they're your boyfriend, right? Because you're having sex for a while, you barely know the guy's name, but, that's how I did it. So when I got sober, I had a lot to learn about dating. So basically, you're having sex with this guy, so, now he's your boyfriend, and then you find out that, all he likes to watch are, like, Steven Seagal movies and stuff, and he doesn't know how to read. And isn't really fond of working for a living. And wants to move in with you. Oh! So then you give him the Heisman, and you move on to another idiot, and, or if I really wanted to get rid of guys, what I would do is I always had really fast, really hot cars, and there's this road on Long Island called the William Floyd Parkway. And they used to call it Gail Speedway. And it's pretty straight for a really long run. It's like 4 lanes, like a highway. And there's no traffic on it at night. Well, there wasn't. There probably is now. But so I would just get it up to about 130 and then turn the headlights off. And go, woo! And the poor boyfriend would be like, And I'd say, let's do it again. And he'd go, take me home. I have to pry his fingers off the dashboard, Because seatbelts were for girls. Wear seatbelts. So anyway, so like it says in the big book, if something else takes your attention for a while, your drinking can, slow down or stop, like a job or falling in love. Well, those 2 things happened to me. I got bored with my job. I got my journeyman's card. I was making good money, and everybody was a jerk, because I was I always racked up resentments like I was pumping gas. Ding, 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 ding. You're out, so. Oh, and I started having seizures all the time. So I took my driver's license away. So now I'm like a biker motorhead, walking. Give me a ride, you! People, really take well when you're swearing at them when they go by. They're just picking you right up. So anyway, so this guy picks me up. This guy pulls over to pick me up. It's like 4 p.m. on a hot, sunny Friday in the summer. He's in a Dodge van with no grill on it, like you can see the radiator, and there's no front bumper. The headlights are on, which I later found out is because he was having electrical problems, and if he didn't run the headlights all the time, it would overcharge his battery, and his battery would boil over. He opens up the door, and he goes, "You want to ride?" I look in the van. There's only a driver's seat. There's no there's a spare tire there for your seating convenience. The whole back of the van is full of, like, empty cases of beer and Burger King garbage, you know? And he's like, "You want to ride?" I'm like, he could have had, like, a knife or a gun. Yeah, you know? Charles Manson, let me in, you know? So I get in the car, and he later became my husband. First guy in my life I ever dated who I didn't meet in a bar. I was very proud of myself. Unfortunately, he was engaged to be married when he gave me the ride, so there was a little problem that had to be worked out, but that wasn't my problem. I was like, you take care of that. And he did. So anyway, he was a very nice guy. He was a wonderful man. He was crazy as a shithouse rat, but so was I. And we built motorcycles. We used to quit our jobs every summer and ride cross country, and we did that for a number of years. And he loved me, and I loved him. And he thought it was so cool that I knew how to, like, TIG weld. And he would brag about me to his friends. He never said, "How come you don't wear dresses?" He never said that. Or, you know, my favorite thing is, "How come you don't wear high heels?" And my favorite reply to that is, "If they're such a good idea, why aren't men wearing them?" So anyway, he was a really nice person, but he also, if he got annoyed, he would just quit a job. Like, it got to be kind of stressful. I'd come home from work, and sometimes his car would be there, and he was supposed to be at work, and the rent was due, and, you know, he'd buy like $3,000 pieces of equipment to, like, work on motorcycles with that we couldn't afford. And because of being a drunk and having such low self-esteem, I just tried to make up the difference and make more money and work harder. But I was getting resentful. But I wouldn't say anything. Like, I could have probably said, "Cut it out or I'll kill you." But or something in between. But I didn't. I just didn't say anything. I just got madder and madder and madder and madder, and I started to drink at it. You know, eventually, this man who loved me and who I loved as much as I could have loved anybody, the way he chewed his food pissed me off so bad that I would leave in the middle of meals to go get drunk. I mean, it was insane. And so anyway, what finally happened with that marriage that I never want to forget. I have a couple never want to forgets. And there's some I don't remember that people have told me that I shouldn't forget. Is I went into the house. He came home from something, and I had already been drinking. I don't know how that worked, because at that point I was bad, and I shouldn't drink. And so we didn't have alcohol in the house. But because of in the printing that I worked, the vendors would always, like, give you bottles of scotch and stuff. I never drank scotch. Scotch made me hurl 8 ways from Sunday. But I was drinking, and he came home. And I don't know about anybody else in this room, but I hear women say that they would have stepped over the bodies of their dead children once they started drinking, to, like, you know, to not stop drinking. He came home, and I was already drinking, and he poured the bottle down the toilet. And so now I have to go out. Now I have to go out. I mean, it's not even like, well, maybe I'll stay home. I'm like a crazy person. I've had like 3 drinks, and I'm like, the madness is upon me, you know. And, you know, I got to get out of here, you know. And we like guns too, so there was always like weapons in the house. So no problems here. So anyway, what ended up that night is not funny. He had me on the floor, and he had his arms on my arms because I kept punching him, and he was like 6'3", he was a big biker, and he had his legs on my legs because I kept kicking him, and he's like holding himself up because now I'm trying to headbutt him to get him off me, and he's crying, and he's saying, "Gail, please don't go, because when you go, I don't know when you're going to come home, and I'm worried, and I'm afraid you're going to get into a car accident because I know how you drink." And I spit in his face because that was the only way I could get him off me, because I needed a drink. You know, and I came home, A couple days later, he was gone. And then I started doing the waking up. Oh, Jesus, who the fuck is that? And I'd get up, trying to think, okay, did I bring my car and my motorcycle? Where are my glasses? I'm like blind without my glasses. I would always lose my glasses in someone's house. And then I'd be like trying to get dressed and get my keys and coat, get out the door, and then I'd hear, "Where you going, baby?" I'm just going to the bathroom. Why are you taking all your clothes? It's cold in here. By the way, what town are we in? Is it Thursday? I mean, that's what my drinking was like at the end. Just so ashamed of myself all the time. Just so ashamed of myself. And you know what? I drank for 5 more years after that. And they were the most absolutely hopeless years of my life. That marriage ended. I'd gone to AA, a short stint of going to AA. I still had a job. I had gotten my driver's license back because I stopped drinking when I was, married to him because I don't, whatever. And so I stopped having seizures. So the state of New York graciously gave me my driver's license back. So I immediately bought this crazy ass car and some Harleys. And so anyway, so I'd show up at meetings full dress leathers with the sleeves cut off because I'm heavily tattooed and bullets for earrings, and I have a lot of. I had things pierced before other people did. You know what I'm saying? And just to scare everybody, I'm crazy. Stay away from me. That was kind of whoop whoop whoop. So I go walking into this meeting in the suburban Long Island meeting, and I ride my Harley, straight pipes and chopped Harley, up on the sidewalk because I'm not parking in the parking lot. What if one of these civilians hits my bike? I'm just I really severely need to get over myself. And so anyway, I go strutting into this meeting, with my leathers and my Tony Lama snakeskin boots, and I'm there's 3 women sitting in the back, and they're crocheting blankets and stuff. I'm 25 and I can bench press my body weight. You know what I'm saying? I was I used to just look at people and flex, And I'm a little out of shape now, but I'm still a bit of a gym rat. And so I was oh, if I stop drinking, you guys gonna teach me to crochet? And it's funny because I knit now, so. But I don't have blue hair. I did when I got sober, but it was a mohawk, and it was a different kind of blue hair. But anyway. So anyway, people were really, really nice to me, and that creeped me out bad. And I didn't get it. It's the first drink that gets you drunk. And I was baby, it takes me 15. When the first drink starts getting me drunk, I'll come back. So anyway, I came for a while, but you guys were all boring and stupid, so I left. And I was just way too cool. So anyway, but when I came back in 1985, I don't know when it was. The last 3 years of my drinking, I don't remember much of anything. I was unemployable. I'd burned every bridge in the printing industry in New York. Nobody would hire me. I had nowhere to live because I would rather drink and do drugs than pay rent. I was living on the streets of Port Jefferson, which is not a big homeless-friendly town. My parents and my family would not allow me anywhere near their houses because I would just steal from them. I was like a thing. I wasn't even like a person. I'd eat out of dumpsters. I thought in my mind that people that paid for pizza were so stupid because I swear to God, because at the end of the night, they would throw away perfectly good pizza still in the boxes in the dumpsters, and you could eat them. You didn't have to pay a dime. Hello, it's in the dumpster. That's just smart economics. So anyway, what ended up happening to me was something happened. I don't really know what it was. Something happened, and I fell or went through a car windshield. I have no clue. But I woke up one morning and I couldn't see out of my right eye, and I remember thinking, oh, that's not good, you know. So I go to touch my face, and what had happened was I had this flap of skin hanging onto my cheek from my forehead. Yeah. And I was obviously severely medicated because I didn't feel any pain from it. But I just noticed that my vision was obscured. So anyway, so I scooped it up, and I started walking towards the nearest emergency room. I'd become a regular visitor there, and they were never very happy to see me because I was kind of stinky and gross and a drunk, and the poor emergency room people, they're just trying to help you, and you don't ever get better, So anyway, the doctor's stitching me up, and he's saying to this poor young nurse who's like trying not to touch me, I'm like totally stinky, and he was like, this is somebody in the final stages of alcoholism. Notice the jaundice in the eye. Notice the protruding liver. And he's poking me, and I'm swearing at him. I'm charming. Yeah, fuck you. And he's like stitching me up, And they wouldn't even give me like Novocaine for the stitches because they were afraid it would like push me over the chemical edge and I'd drop dead. A guy standing there with the things, because like I'm so toxic from drugs and alcohol. They're like waiting for me to kick to like start me back up. So anyway, I walked out of there, and it was like either a couple of days later or like a month later. I don't know. But I remember thinking, final stages? That can't be good. So I had an aunt who was sober like 10 years, who was like the biggest pill you ever met in your life. Like she was one of those I'm sober and I hate everything kind of alcoholics, dry alcoholics. And then I had Uncle Bobby who would get like 30 or 60 days and then go out and drink. But I loved him. He was a riot, right? But I knew if you came to Alcoholics Anonymous, you could maybe stop drinking because I was afraid I was going to die. And it wasn't even like it was an easy decision, like death, Alcoholics Anonymous. Ooh, but I was scared. I'm a big chicken, so I went to AA. And it took me a long time to get sober. It took me months of coming every day and being a coffee maker. I would get to this, we used to call it mental compression. There were two things that we used to suffer from, me and these three women, and we all got sober together. One was mental compression, which is just like your brain is gone bad on you, and it's squeezing your head. And the only way to get relief is to pick up a drink. But I didn't know if you waited, it went away. Because I'm still not very patient. So, and the other thing was the underlying grossness factor, where you just know that not only is it all about you, but it's all about you and how you suck. And that's what I had. And I can still have that today if I'm not having a good day. No matter what's going, the World Trade Center, it's my fault. I suck. Had I only, or if I only, I could kill myself with that stuff, Pride in reverse, And so anyway, a guy that I really trusted because he had a lot of prison time and still carried weapons, a nice sober AA boy, he told me basically that I was screwed and that the only choice I had was to ask a power outside of myself to relieve the obsession to drink. So, I went to Catholic school. I don't believe in that. It's all crap. I have the big rap down. It's all just to scare people so they'll have more kids or I don't know what. I wasn't making a lot of sense in those days. I used to beat people up at meetings too. I was pretty charming. If I walked in a meeting and you started laughing, I knew you were laughing at me because I was just so freaked out and crazy. So I would run over and like start laying on you, and then like two big guys would come and get me and drag me outside by my armpits, and then my poor sponsor would come out, Fran, and she would go, Gail, you're not allowed to hit people. If you're going to hit people, we're going to make you sit outside on this bench outside the meeting, and you'll have to listen through the window, and that'll be very cold when the winter comes. And I was like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I had lost the ability to read. I had no front teeth. I was so sad. And so anyway, power outside of myself. And I had trusted and relied on Gail my whole life. And he's like, yeah, you're doing pretty good, huh? And I was like, so I was living in this rooming house then. So I went into my room. It was on the second floor. And I pulled down, like, the cracked plastic shade in case anybody was going to shinny up a tree and see me down on my knees praying. And, like, call the newspaper. And I got down on my knees, and I said a prayer that's something like this, because I'm so pious, It was something like, look, God, Jerry told me I should do this, and I really think it's a bunch of crap, but I'm really afraid because I'm physically very sick, and I can't stop drinking, and I really need to have the obsession of drink removed because I need to stop drinking because I'm so afraid. And then I was like getting all, I was crying. I was like, oh my God, get over yourself. And I went to sleep. And it was like 3 days later, I was in a meeting, and now I told you I used to hit people. So I'm sitting in a meeting next to some guy, and somebody was said, and the obsession of drink was removed. Somebody was talking, and I went, oh, and he goes, oh, And I said, guess what? And he's like, what? And I said, I haven't wanted to drink in a couple of days. And I mean, I can't even remember when the last time I hadn't thought about, like, drinking and getting high or slitting somebody's throat or something, And he was like, great. And he's like hopping his chair away from me. So I found through that, through a lot of work with a couple different sponsors and doing a huge ass resentment list, because I hated everybody. I mean, I had things on my resentment list like that guy with the red car. I didn't know anybody's name. I don't know anybody's names, There's a couple of years missing. Good. I'd have 700 names from 1 year, But the thing that really helped me out was my sponsor that I have now. I did a 4th step with her, and when I was writing, where I was selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and afraid on my resentment, I had a lot of resentments at my mom. Duh. And the cause of, cause and effect of the resentment. The cause of my resentment was she didn't love me. She didn't love me. And my sponsor pointed out to me, she said, Gail, you know what? I bet your mom didn't get up in the morning and say, I'm going to put this kid in the hospital. Your mom wanted to be a good mom. She just couldn't do it. She just couldn't do it, I'm sure that in her way she loves you, but she's just nuts. And the other thing that was a big thing for me about getting over my underlying grossness factor was, I'm a freak. I have glasses and buck teeth, and I pull my hair out, and, I'm generally nuts, and my sponsor pointed out to me, she said, Gail, a lot of kids that go through what you went through when you were a kid just kill themselves. She says, you had to do that to feel like you had some control over your own pain, And you do it a little now because it's like an ingrained thing you do, but you don't do it nearly as much as you used to, and you're not a freak, And, if I hadn't done a 4th and a 5th step and had a sponsor tell me that. And so now, I could never talk about that before in front of people. But now, I'm not proud of it. Hey, I'm a freak, but, I can have short hair now. Yep, I have a pink head. Whatever, I'm not going to be, I don't want to wear a wig. Fuck that. So anyway, I gotta wind this up right now. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. If you had told me in 1985, when I came here, that I would own a home, and I own a duplex, so we own the other side. So I have a tenant. I am the man. I wouldn't have a Harley. I'm going to have one, but I just don't have one right now. I'm making that very emphatic. I'd be married to a man who loves me unbelievable and who's never been in a fight in his whole life. and that I would have a 2.5-year-old baby, I would have kicked your ass. Because all I wanted was my old husband back, a couple of Harleys, and I wanted to be able to bench press my body weight again. And those were my big goals. But one of the reasons that I never had kids, aside from the fact that I'm incredibly self-centered and impatient, is because I knew how angry my mother was. And I knew that I was way more angry than she was. You know? And I was just, what would I do if I had a little baby that wouldn't stop crying? I was afraid. So when I'd meet men who were nice, who wanted to be with me, who wanted to have children, I got rid of them so fast it made your head spin. Like, I'm never having kids. I hate kids. I didn't hate kids. Kids always liked me, but I was just afraid. You know, and I'm a really good mom. I mean, I'm 46, so I'm tired. But, you know, and my daughter may need therapy, you know, because we're a little crazy in my house. But she knows that I love her. She knows that I love her. And as long as I keep doing that, and I can trust and rely on God, that restless, irritable discontent goes right out the fucking window. And I'm happy, joyous, and free. So, if you're here today and you're having trouble staying away from a drink, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. There is a solution, and you don't ever have to drink again. Just find somebody to talk to. And you know, if the first person you walk up to acts like you make them nervous and they don't want to talk to you, fuck them. Go talk to somebody else. Because not everybody's all well here. We're in AA, so we got some issues, you know what I'm saying? But even me, I was such a big, scary nut. I found somebody I could talk to, and that made all the difference in the world. So the hand of AA is there, but you're not going to get it sitting in the corner and not talking to anybody, man. You got to make the first move, and that's willingness. It can be done, and life can be a beautiful thing, so thank you.